What's up, dude?
Hey, I can hear you good. Sorry, I'll be home in just a minute. I had to run to the Ford dealership.
Hey, it's perfect. Just recently, another Nathan in my life, Nathan Murdoch, he did a podcast with me while riding a longboard the entire time.
That's Murdoch, though.
Yeah, it's been a very popular episode, I gotta say.
Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, man. Can you hear me?
No. Could you hear him?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, amazing technology. I mean, like, it cut out, like, maybe one time for a second, but it was good.
Nate Murdoch, that's something else.
Yeah.
No, I honestly, I don't know where you're going to go with today's podcast, but I was literally just on a phone with a father. We're trying to run a business. Are you open back up?
We're not doing any kids yet.
Okay. Well, okay. I'll say that. I want to go back to that. Because I put a post out on Facebook a while back. A couple of business owners contacted me. Kind of solidarity of strength and faith. Their confidence are higher now that I'm opening up. And so why would you have adults who pass it, but not kids who aren't symptomatic of it? I asked that of the other woman. Why are you doing that?
Honestly, like everything with us right now is like a perception game. You know what I'm saying? Like we're just trying to piss off the fewest number of people, because even doing the adults that we're doing, like jiu-jitsu, for example, we are doing jiu-jitsu. We're only training with one partner. We're doing it like basically what some gyms I'm talking to in Oklahoma are doing.
Yep.
And that's unpopular amongst some people. And I mean, we're not like walking on eggshells about it, but there's a whole lot of parents that just like, they're very nervous,
scared.
Yes. About bringing their kid back in, about their kid being the guinea pig. That's one comment I heard.
Wow. Well, we've been really fortunate. We really have been fortunate. And we did everything.
Still there, dude?
Oh,
you back?
Sorry, I went into my garage and I didn't realize I lost it.
I bet you were hopping on your Wi-Fi. That's what always happens to me when I pull up at my house.
Do you have ABC billing?
No, I do not. We use Zen Planner.
Okay. Yeah, ABC kind of hosed us bad.
Danny Dring was with him for a long time. And so was Eric Ingram. And I think both of them are on Zen Planner now too, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, ABC decided to shut down all billing and didn't tell us. And we lost, a whole, whatever, we have 3 pay periods throughout the month. And one of them, they just didn't collect our money. They shut all their collections down. And even though our lease and our bills and our insurance, everything is due.
Oh, wow, man. That is insane.
So when we finally got it open back up, they were billed for last month and this month, our students. And so we lost 10 students because of that. It's been kind of crazy, but I'm trying to stay strong, confident, faithful during a very uneasy and untraveled time. I mean, I don't think I've ever experienced anything like this in my life. I remember ducking under my desk for atomic bomb threats from the Russians back in elementary school.
This seems to be the statement I like to go with is like unprecedented within our lifetime. This is the type of stuff that we only hear about or like speculate about. It's interesting to see what's going to happen moving forward, not necessarily with like reopening things, but just the long-term repercussions of the closing of things.
Right. So, well, we opened up and we're running, I would say half speed, because we have so many different classes and age groups. We're still running. We've just modified the hours. We are not kind of open to the public, you know, because we don't want to piss everybody off. I've had a few Karens already call, threaten us from Ohio, saying they're watching us, want to know what our health. Dude, it's crazy. She was mad because she didn't get the answer that she wanted from me. But we take thermal temperatures at the door. We have questionnaires, waivers. Nobody can come in unless they're training. We do the quarantine partners. They're either family members, they just don't touch, they do solo drilling, or if they have somebody that they have chosen to stay with this first phase. We're very smart about it. And this father that I was talking to on the phone, he didn't even know what we were doing. He was pulling his child until January of 2021. He loves us. He loves what we do. And it's just a fear thing, but he didn't realize that we were really, really being smart. This is not us being stupid. They don't have these protocols when you go to Walmart or Home Depot or Lowe's.
I know, man. This whole essential, non-essential divide it's mind-blowing when you're a business owner, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So anyway, that has been our last few weeks. And it was a friend of mine. I'm doing a men's leadership. I guess it's not a podcast, but it's a men's leadership. It's like 5 hours long, a men's leadership thing tomorrow online with guys all over the country. And I'm actually speaking on faith and leadership during a crisis. So it's kind of, I said this to the dad, I have to be able to not just speak about it and preach about it. I got to be able to act on it. And so I have to step out there with faith and lead where most people are afraid. Like you said, you're going to make some people mad. And I know we probably have.
Well, imagine, okay, so we feel this weird pressure. Imagine the amplification, the pressure-wise that elected officials feel from their constituency. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the reason that's why probably guiding. Go ahead.
Pressure.
Yeah.
No, you're right. We went. Blue Angels were here yesterday, and my wife wanted to go downtown to the Little Rock Bridge. We're right here in Little Rock. We went down to the River Market, and the River Market's closed. You can't get food there, but there was a restaurant around the corner, right across from the State House Convention Center. They were open, and as I walk up, the chick is outside to greet us with a mask on, and we can't come in unless we have a mask. Well, we'll sell you a mask. I have to have a mask on in your restaurant? How am I going to eat? It's okay for me to take it off to chew and consume food, but then I have to put it on, and then if I want to drink, I take it off to drink, but then I have to put it back on. I mean, none of this makes sense to me. At the gym that I go to, they're making me wear a mask not while I work out. Brian Wilson, not while I work out. But if I'm not working out, I have to wear the mask. But I'm doing deadlifts on a trap bar with Solo, you know, one of the pro fighters. Oosh, oosh,
oh, I know, aspirating. Man.
But I don't have to wear a mask when I'm lifting. But the moment I'm done.
Oh, man. You know, my gym is because they don't want to deal with that. The fitness center here in town, which it's like, they have everything, sauna, all that. They are not going to reopen because they're like, we just can't offer a quality service. And I actually were like all their membership, but you're like the largest facility in town. They didn't even charge anybody. I was like, keep charging me. And they're like, we don't worry about it. Like, you know, I mean, they have hundreds and hundreds of members. But it's, you know, wow. It's interesting that a lot of gyms have chosen not to reopen. Some in our town have. But.
Yeah. Well, we're really smart about it. And this week, I'll tell you, it was seriously a breath of fresh air. I don't know how to explain it. You know, I explained to my wife yesterday, it was probably the best day we've had, even as a couple, you know, because this affects us. Like you and Cora, we're business owners together. This is what we do. And the stress of this will get to you, the pressure of this, and then the money side of this. That's what's killing us the most, is the money side.
Man, you know, it's weird. Like, it has been affecting my sleep, oddly. Like, I just kind of tossed and turned, and I think it's just from consuming so much, like, negative chatter. You
I
know?
can't. I don't like the negativity at all. How's that? Can you hear me and see me?
Oh yeah, dude, perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. Just finished your longboard ride.
That's good. Nate Murdoch, man.
He's so funny, dude. I love that guy. Well, hey man, so we could talk about anything, but like honestly, I know a lot. I know a fair amount about you, but I actually don't know like your whole story about how you got involved in MMA. Like I know you have an awesome history in the sport, like as a competitor, as a pro fighter. And man, I was just basically wondering if you could just fill me in on all that. Like how did you get from A, if this is B, what's A, and how did you bridge the gap?
Well, I don't know what alphabet that would be to make this B, because I surely didn't go A, B. This is probably a Z where I'm at right now. Well, I really appreciate having me on here. Honored to be on here. I know some of your past guests and distinguished and just amazing competitors. But as far as, MMA goes, I'm originally from the Midwest, from Iowa. And being in Iowa, you are known for a few things. And I'm corn-fed. That's what I hear everywhere I go down here. I'm corn-fed Iowa boy. And then it's wrestling, wrestling, Iowa Hawkeye wrestling. And I was, a Hawkeye fan. I was able to speak at the University of Iowa not too long ago.
Oh, cool.
But I sucked at wrestling. I got my ass kicked wrestling pretty bad. I was not an athlete by any means at all in high school. My students can't understand that because they always talk about my muscles. They always talk about my man pecs. And I didn't have these in high school either, kids. They're like, really? Did you play sports? I'm like, yeah, not really. I was an actor and a singer.
Man, and you are like, so how tall are you, Nathan?
6'5".
Yeah, like you got big hands. It's not like you're like, but the whole time I've known you, I'm like, that dude's a big guy, right?
I did not have that in high school.
Wow.
It's crazy. I had a growth spurt really late. I got some height. I ended up getting like this 6'4", like a size 14 while I was in high school, but I was still skinny rail, 185 pounds my senior year playing football. I mean, I made all conference, but there's 7 seniors in my school, 7. I graduated with 23 people. So it wasn't like they wouldn't have had me on that team if there was more people probably. But man, I was just infatuated with boxing. I grew up with marvelous Marvin Hagler and Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson. I hear Mike Tyson's coming back. Ray Boom Boom Mancini. That's what I grew up watching was boxing. And then I graduated in 1993. And we all know what happened in the winter in October of 93, UFC #1. And I was in a basement apartment. I graduated at 17 and moved out of the house. And I was homeless there for a while. And then I moved in with this 80-year-old lady, 90-year-old lady, just rented a basement room from her. And that's when I watched UFC #1. And I said, I don't know what that is, but I want to do it. And then I got into martial arts because I didn't know the difference. We didn't know what jiu-jitsu was. I didn't know the difference between jiu-jitsu, boxing, karate. I didn't know nothing. So I started taekwondo, and that's how I started my martial arts journey was through taekwondo. Became a state champ 10 times, world champion in 2008, got that gold medal. And I got up to 4th degree. I was testing for my 5th degree. I just couldn't do it anymore. I mean, me personally, as I'm choking people now, professionally, not just as a fighter, but even as a coach teaching jiu-jitsu and going to tournaments and then having the leadership of what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is with my first couple of professors, I just couldn't sell myself on this anymore and sell anybody else that's self-defense. And that's just my personal, I just had to walk away from it completely. And or you'd be bowing to me saying, Master Kirby. And
I knew at one point that you had a background in TKD, but I completely forgot. I'd completely forgotten. So when did you stop the traditional training?
So I was still doing both. So I had 3 taekwondo schools in Iowa, and I had a fitness center, a club fitness, and above this was a taekwondo school. My instructor was actually renting the space up there. And I started something up there called, we had fight night. I don't remember how I started. It was just a few guys getting together, do like some self-defense stuff, but not this self-defense stuff. Like, I really want to learn how to fight real self-defense and not just, okay, grab, no, not hand, no. Turn your hand this way. And
my other wrist.
Yeah. What was that, In Living Color?
Yeah.
Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
With the knife?
Oh, man. You stabbed me wrong.
So anyway, so I'm doing this, and then it took off. Like, my passion with it took off. My instructor tried to get me kicked out of the ATA organization that I was a part of up there because I was teaching kids how to fight or something like this. I didn't even have mat rats. I mean, I have 3-year-olds now. I didn't even have kids under 10 at the time. And so I actually started the first ever fight club, legit. I mean, I had a banner, says Fight Club. I put it in the newspaper, it said Fight Club. And we had it once a month in my building upstairs. The city shut us down because we had too many people upstairs. It was free. We had guys coming in all over from Iowa. This is the first time I met guys from Miletich. Guys are coming in from Des Moines, wrestlers coming in. And they're like, I mean, a true fight club, Brian. True on fight club. You come in, I weighed you on a scale. And if you were kind of within 20, 30 pounds of this guy, or this guy was within 15, 20 pounds of this guy, I would give you a lanyard and a number around your neck. And I would call out number 1 and number 13. That's me. And they would go and fight. And I'm out there kind of refereeing and coaching along the way so I can cover my butt to say it's instructional. And this was probably 2003, 4, 5, 2005. I started doing that. And I had a guy, his name was Rod Montoya, the Mexicutioner. He ended up being on The Ultimate Fighter with Rolly. He was a pro fighter from Iowa. He was coming to train with me, and it just got to a point where, you know, I didn't have any ego in the game because I was still a student. I was getting taught, you know, traditional martial arts, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can. And I finally said, hey, look, man, we sat down one day, and I said, we need to go up to Davenport, up to where Pat Miletich is. We need to go to the Miletich fighting systems. We got to go up there. I can only take you so far because I only know so much. And so we started going up to Miletich fight team. And that's when I got to train with Brock Lesnar. He was actually had a massage therapy business. And I took my table up there. I didn't have any money. You know, I am barely educated out of high school, and I'm running my own fitness center, which I have no idea how they gave me the loan for that. I did not know what I was doing. And my own taekwondo schools, had a massage therapy business. I'm massaging Brock Lesnar on my table for my payment at Champions in Bettendorf. And Josh Neer, the dentist, I worked on him. But I'm training with Joe Jordan and Spencer Fisher, you know, Matt Hughes. I'm having breakfast with Matt Hughes and the Hillbilly Heartthrob. You know, he was in The Ultimate Fighter, and Ben Rothwell are at my fights. I have Tim Sylvia and Matt Hughes both at my MMA fights that I was promoting in Iowa. And it's just kind of a crazy whirlwind of like a year or two up there. And I started fighting amateur, started fighting professionally, started fighting for a title. Had my first loss. It was my first title fight, and that was my first wrestler I ever fought. Oh my gosh, man. Choked me. I didn't know jiu-jitsu, real jiu-jitsu at the time. And anyway, I ended up getting an offer, and I was still promoting up in Iowa, and I ended up getting an offer to run a taekwondo school here in Arkansas. And they knew that I did MMA, and they knew that I did promotions. And so that was the hook for them to bring me down here. I didn't realize what their agenda was until I was here. So without going through all that drama for 4 years, 2012, I went out on my own. I'll say that. And that's how I started Rock City, was 2012 in my garage with about 6 students. And but my jiu-jitsu journey was kind of different because I had done no-gi and MMA and fighting and wrestling with Team Hard Drive in Cedar Rapids, and cross-training with Miletich up there in Davenport. Never once put a gi on. actually, this is how uneducated I was. And this is why I have some empathy being, it's April, it's May, just last month, April, I had my black belt now 2 years. Still don't feel like I deserve it, right? You know, we get that imposter syndrome sometime. So I was invited by a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt who was cross-training with us at Team Hard Drive. And my coach was so cool. He's an old school wrestler. He wasn't jiu-jitsu, he wasn't boxing, and he wasn't like taekwondo. He was just an old school wrestler. Dave Scherzer. You know the dads that have the beard that you give them a hug? You know, I'm turning into that dad now. You know, my tender face would get rubbed on my dad's face. That was him. His bald head with spikes on his freaking head. Oh my gosh, he would grind his head under my chin. Dave Scherzer was like, hey, Kirby, you should go to this guy's seminar and train. You guys are a lot alike. You're a leader and all this. I'm like, okay. So I show up at the University of Iowa at the field house to his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu seminar, never having done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I thought I'm just going into a seminar. I wear my Taekwondo Dobok uniform that says state champion on it. I have no idea. And my black belt. My Taekwondo black belt. He never said anything. You know what he also never did? He didn't try and use me as an example. He didn't, you know, I don't know. I always think about how cordial he was and inviting he was. And it just wasn't that way when I got into jiu-jitsu, you know, down here when I first started, 2008 with Professor Eder. You know, you knew Professor Eder, right? Back in the day? Eder Personal?
I don't know. What academy did he coach out of?
He's DDR.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I do. Yes.
Brazil.
I know who you're talking about. Yes.
But here, he wasn't DDR. Here, he was under Gracie Baja.
Okay, I know. Yes, I know who you're talking about.
In Jacksonville. Trying to think of the guy that was owning the place. And then he came over to ATA and started DDR through ATA. Mm-hmm. And so he was our professor probably for the first 2 years I was doing jiu-jitsu. So, but then, you know, meeting other guys around the state, around, you know, getting into that jiu-jitsu world was different. But up there, he was just respectful to me as a martial artist. I had been training over a decade in martial arts, and I have, you know, you went the traditional Taekwondo route too, didn't you?
No, I did. I was just thinking when you were talking about that, I almost made the comment that I started off training with Caleb in MMA before he even did a gi jiu-jitsu program at the Clarksville Inferno, before he moved to Northwest Arkansas. Nate and I came out of the same location. So that's how I got my start. But I you know, wished I would have had a similar story as you. Like, yes, I had a traditional background, and then I segued to MMA, because then you would have both, you know. But I do. You know, I don't like. Here's what I don't want to take the time to learn is what you were saying, like the katas. It's like, hey, let's do some shadow boxing and then some side kicks, and we'll say we did traditional martial arts.
There you go. But you know, so what's funny is I was doing a striking class, MMA class yesterday. I don't have a set striking class anymore. I really have evolved so much over the last few years to realize I built an MMA curriculum back in 2004. I started writing it in 2005 with somebody. Just giving this idea. Think about jiu-jitsu. Think about karate. Think about judo. Think about even kickboxing. You can get ranked through kickboxing through Duke Rufus now. That's who I was going to go under, was Duke Rufus. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a ranking curriculum. Everything is ranked. And there is nothing at the time of how to teach MMA and what to teach MMA, to whom and to when. And then think about this, like this ghetto high block. That is a knife hand high block. High block, knife hand high block. White belt, yellow belt. What? There's no difference in ability as you grow and you learn. Inner, outer. Orange belt, camo belt. There's no difference. But in MMA and jiu-jitsu, what I realize is the more you learn, the harder stuff gets. The higher rank, harder stuff gets, the more knowledge. So I started developing a real intense and deep MMA program that has evolved over the years to add judo, to add, you know, of course, jiu-jitsu throughout. and a lot of it is Eddie Bravo. A lot of it's 10th Planet, Brandon McGoffin. We have that same interest and friend. And I've added more judo, more wrestling. Again, Luis Pena. I've got Taylor guys right now who's amazing at wrestling, and I'm always increasing our curriculum to make it a true. What would a white belt learn? What would a brand new person off the street to say that they're learning MMA? What do they need to learn? What striking, clinching, takedown, ground fighting, position, submission, escape? What do they need to learn? So it's just been a culmination of the last, seriously, 17 years. 2003 since I started kind of MMA. 17 years of this has been insane.
Man, I've been teaching college for 2 years now, full time. It's like 25 hours a week. And it's going to be less now that we're going to be switching more online. It's just an industry. But I really have always had a pro curriculum and pro systematic approach. And have always admired people like Eddie Bravo. I remember the winter camp, you taught a seminar, and I remember it was a no-gi seminar, right? But I remember you showing some 10th Planet stuff way back then. But man, I think that's very valuable. Greg Jackson, Rufus, all of these kind of high-level guys have developed sort of their own MMA system, and I'm all about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys have ranking. I remember seeing some of your guys at tournaments that you have ranking now shirts, right? No-gi ranking shirts?
Yes. We do the same no-gi rank. We do like the IBJJF, right? And I do have some people that do just no-gi, but it's or like 10th Planet does. It's like gi jiu-jitsu, no-gi jiu-jitsu, same color belts. With the kids, we do the same. We do run the same structure as Caleb does. For his program.
Yeah. So what's funny is when you're talking about curriculum, I realize that when people talk about jiu-jitsu, my professor, you have a lineage, like you said, you were under Caleb. Caleb was under Danny Drink. So you know where your lineage is and you track it. And a lot of your teaching style now is probably because of how Caleb taught you. And then how Caleb taught you is how Danny taught him. And a lot of that stuff is passed on. But as martial artists, what I truly believe, what we have to do is we still have to step outside of what we were taught and to realize, okay, is this functional now? Is this relevant now? Is this theory-based or is this actual combat-based? And also, what can I do to leave this better than I found it? And so what I've done with jiu-jitsu since I started is, again, always questioned, am I worthy of this white belt? Am I worthy of this blue belt? Am I worthy of this purple belt? All the way as I'm picking up new information, because I'm such a coach and I developed a coaching program and I developed an asshole by trade, really. And if I fight, I'm not a nice guy. So I don't know how to not have my ego in, even though I tell my students no ego. So I needed to be a full-time coach and not try to get my ego involved, because I'll get sensitive and up in my feelings.
You had like 11 pro fights or something, right? Is that correct?
I have my first fight was a pro fight. My second fight was an amateur fight. I don't know how that happened.
Back in the good old days.
Back in the good old days, before YouTube, SureDog, and Tapology, I didn't know a single fighter before I fought him. I wouldn't even know who he was until I walked into the weigh-ins, if he even showed up. That happened multiple times, but I think there was 11 or 12 fights. I know my first fight was my first loss, 7-0, was a rear naked choke. And the only other time I lost was to a guy in Louisiana, and it ended up with a TKO. I just couldn't get him off my back. Man, he hit me in the back of the head. I mean, at least 9 times. I was delirious. You broke my nose.
No.
Bob Sapp.
Yeah, Bob Sapp. Okay.
I was supposed to fight Bob Sapp. So him and I did a face-off down in Louisiana with Tito Ortiz, and it was cool. It was going to be in a Hercules tournament in Japan, but man, I'm facing off with Bob Sapp, and then I get in the cage and I fight Scott Barrett. He fought in the World Fighting League, or
yeah.
Anyway, I fought him, and I just couldn't get this dude off my back. But that's the only 2 losses I've ever had as a fighter. I have one on there as a loss, but I knocked the guy out. and I got disqualified. So.
Oh, I think I remember seeing that. Like you guys are like standing up or something like that, like some sort of transitional thing, and they said
Yep,
he
that's
was
what
down.
it was. I got up. We were scrambling off the ground. He's going forward Americana. And what's funny is that I use this when I teach Americana, and half of the last 9 years is he just did not pull my elbow down to isolate my shoulder, and my elbow's up in the air, and he just gave me so much space. I was able to back bridge roll, kind of kick up out. I got up, and man, I flashed him with the knee so hard. Spencer Fisher was the actual referee that night. I think Tap Out was there. I think Tap Out was there because my wife got a picture with Punk Ass and Skyscrape and Mask. It was awesome. I mean, you know, Jens Pulver was there. Rich Franklin was there because he was managing this guy. The truck, the meat truck. How can I not remember who I fought? He was one of Rich Franklin's guys. He fought in the Ultimate Fighter. He fought Fedor. I'm old.
Let me see if I can pull it up here. Let's see. Scott Barrett. That's who we were talking about.
Scott Barrett was down in Louisiana. I think there's a couple records with my name.
It's not on Tapology. It's because Scott Barrett's the very last one.
Yeah, it would have been before Scott Barrett, though.
Yeah. Okay. These are just wins. Frank Gonzalez, Dusty Pickett, Kerry Shaw.
Kerry Shaw.
Yeah. Okay.
That's him.
Okay. 07.
Kerry Shaw. That's the one that, man, I had him knocked out, and he's all flipped up upside down. The doctor came in, gave him some time, and then after 5 minutes, the doctor called the fight, and he's like, "No, I'm ready." He's like, "I gave you 5 minutes to be ready." So, but anyway, that was an incredible experience. I just love that. I mean, you know, you still go to MMA fights, and I love doing color commentary. I love emceeing at fights. I love MMA. I mean, I really love MMA.
Yeah, and you do it all, man. You've commentated my wife, one of Cora's fights, but you do a great job commentating. And you emceeing, dude. You could turn on the announcing as well. I
love that. My dream is to be in the UFC doing it one time.
Well, okay. Well, you know, there's many events as they're doing that they are going to need people. I've seen them using people other than Buffer all the time that I don't really know who they are.
That guy that they use, he's got a really good voice, actually. I mean, I'm envious of him because he's got a great technique. He came from the WEC.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't think of his name. I have a bad memory, so.
Well, man, it's anyway. Like, so do you think like just you having a pretty strong history of promoting fights like in Arkansas and abroad that you just kind of know all the roles? I mean, definitely fighting helps you with your experience, but man, you do kind of have all the ins and outs of the industry, so to speak.
When I was promoting in Iowa, it was because there was nothing kind of like it there. You know, I mean, I know it's huge and mainstream now, but you know, I'm talking, you know, it was still illegal in certain states, you know, frowned upon, especially in my small town. You know, I was just ahead of my time there in this little tiny small town of Iowa. But I hated the process. I'll tell you that. But I work unbelievable under pressure. And I realize that if I have no pressure to get anything done, I don't get anything accomplished. And that's just who I am. But if I have 3 deadlines and it has to be done tomorrow, I'm on fire. I can handle pressure like no other. I'm getting contracts signed, and I'm dealing with the Alcoholic Beverage Commission and the state athletic commissions. I'm dealing with insurance and how. I have no idea how I know how to do this. I don't know how I was able to do it and then make contracts and get these fights and connect to these fighters, and I just love it. But all of it, Saturday night. It always came down to Saturday night to watch those guys. Like, I get choked up about it. You know, I have long conversation with some of my fighters and, you know, why I'm so hard on them. Or, you know, I kicked one guy out of my school a couple months ago. And I love him. And I still, you know, he's able to come back to open mats, but you're not good for my team. But you're not good for my own mental health. I am so tired of watching guys' potential piss down the drain because of drugs or alcohol or women, or because they're lazy or they don't have respect or self-control. They can't show up on time. They won't be there for their teammates. They're selfish. They only think about themselves or their payday or their. So I'm passionate about this, and that's what runs me.
Yeah, man. You see, the bigger you are, the more successful you get, the more cases you see like that, right? It's like, man, the number of people that you and I both have training with us over the years that either quit or went somewhere or whatever. They just are no longer on the mats, or went somewhere else. They're still on the mat somewhere else, or three somewhere else. Is so many people.
It's heartbreaking. Yeah, I had my knife. I was stabbing myself because that's what it feels like. It feels like I've been stabbed in the back. It feels like I've been stabbed in the heart sometimes. You know, you watch your name get dragged in the mud by another team for what? Because we're different. We're going for the same thing. I mean, at a jiu-jitsu tournament or an MMA fight, what are we going for? To do to showcase what we've trained, how we train, the techniques that we train, you know, to give respect to Danny Dream, to give respect to my Professor Marcelo, to give respect to my coaches, Pat Miletich, and, you know, that's it. But it's us now. It's you now. It ain't Danny Dream out there coaching your team. It's you. That pressure falls on you, Brian Wilson, Force of Martial Arts. And what do people think about Force of Martial Arts? And now there's a competition. Well, I'm better than Force of Martial Arts. Well, I'm better than Rock City MMA. One match?
It does, man. That's the weird, like, especially on the jiu-jitsu circuit for whatever locally. I don't notice it as much when I go out of state, like with like the local scene. But I will say, man, I think part of that has been, unfortunately, like instilled in the culture of like Arkansas, in the scene of what we're involved in. And I hope that some of that is changing. I'm open to some of it changing. You know what I'm saying? And I think that over time it's, I mean, dude, like Caleb used to be the only blue belt I knew. In all the black belts in the state at one time were like under Dring, and there was only like 3 or 4 of them, you know, and now it's like there's over 50
here in Arkansas.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Cause I mean, man, I'm about to within whenever we were going to do 2 promotions on the 30th of April. That's fallen through, obviously. And then Cora and 2 other people I had on deck for like 6-8 months in the future. Probably going to do all of them at the same time. So that's 5 out of our school.
Underneath of you?
Yes. I mean, Drinks coming in to promote him because I don't even have my first degree yet. Thank you. So, but man, Westside's got several. Caleb has several. All of the guys that own academies, like people like me, you, Johnny, Trimble, Andy Threlkeld's a black belt now. I mean, man, it is really like exploding.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about that.
Kind of mind blowing. Yeah.
That's amazing. So I always, what I'm going to say about you, what I'm going to say about Rolly is what I'd say about you. I always have so much respect for you to be able to know that under your tutelage, you have created them. That means they have been with you 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years. And of course, everybody's on a different journey because of their competition level or how many times they show up. I get that. But, you know, when I first moved here, and again, Rod, like I told you, Rod was on the Ultimate Fighter, and then I moved here right away in 2008. And in 2008, the Ultimate Fighter, and that's when Rolly was on. And Rod's like, hey, I was on the show with him. You need to go check him out. And I actually went downtown to meet him when I first moved here because I didn't know who anybody was. He said, if they're going to train, because I wanted to fight again, if you need to train, you need to go train in Westside. And then, but ATA was not having it. They went nuts, dude. They went absolutely apeshit nuts when they found out that I went downtown. And so that's when they went and brought in Eder. That's how, remember PJ? PJ got fired because he was cross-training. Because he would sneak out from teaching classes for them and then head over to Westside and train. And I just wanted the knowledge. I just wanted he was in the Ultimate Fighter with Rod, and Rod's like, dude, you need to go see this man. This is where you need to train. And then to see how many black belts this guy has underneath him, and watching them go and train and how many championships they earn. And now how many will you have? Would that be 5?
5. That'll be 5. We got 5 in the hopper on deck.
Man, I'm just a few years behind. I mean, you know, Ashton's only a purple belt. Jared's a purple belt. I've held Trevor off, you know, because he didn't do traditional jiu-jitsu for a while. He's phenomenal though, man. You know, he's just blue. I have Crystal, but she's under her husband now. You know, they got their school in Sherwood going. Combat Concepts Academy, CCA.
Yeah. My guy John, he's big time into judo, and he goes over there and trains with Garrett Andrews.
Okay, yeah. So Garrett's got a new guy come in. He's got a new Muay Thai coach he just brought in. The Matador. I haven't been able to meet him yet, but they've got something great going on. But so Crystal, she's not with me under Marcelo anymore. She's under her husband, so she's running that school there. So anyway, I'm just behind the gun,
man.
But
so
it'll come.
You mentioned Ashton, you know, Brandon Mcarthur brought him up on the podcast the other day. So
wow.
Yeah, I know he's gotten some I would say notoriety, at least regionally. I mean, Brandon's over in Alabama, but I expect some great things from him, man. I know he looks super sharp. What's going on with his career and stuff right now? I mean, I know everything's kind of in a weird limbo, but
yeah, it was, you know, we talk about that as well. You know, when you want to inspire somebody, you know, you plant seeds of hope, and hope changes everything. And in this world of MMA, hope is the next date. Hope is the next dance. And unfortunately, a lot of our hope was taken. And so the guys weren't as consistent. And so we've got that under wraps now. We've got them coming in. You know, we've got big open mats we were doing. You know, again, we talked about being healthy and being clean and being safe. And it's hard to do all of this and still train for upcoming events. But Ashton, right before spring break, as my wife and I were heading to Mexico, he had a fight in Poto, Oklahoma for a title. And then May 9th, he had a fight in Oklahoma City on UFC Fight Pass for a title. That would have been 6 separate titles in 5 different states as an amateur 19-year-old kid. He's 19.
Did he fight on the same card as Cora on that pyramid fights? I want to say they did, but I could be wrong. I've seen him fight a couple of times.
I don't know. Fights blend. I hit probably 30 or 40 in a year.
Yeah, I know, man. It was one of those ones over in Batesville.
Yeah, I remember Batesville. And he might have fought. You know, so we've had some time, you know, some trouble also on some of those cards that these guys will book, and then 3 weeks out they just pull out for no reason, and we're left hanging. And so that's also happened to him because it's hard to get that experience. He's 9-1 as an amateur. He's signed with First Round Management. He is scheduled right now to fight in Oklahoma for that title June 20th. So 5 weeks, he's got a title fight set up.
Who's the promoter? Is it Apollo?
Brian Foster.
Okay. Apollo's still having some fights, so maybe they're still doing things over there, right? I don't know.
Yes, they just opened up the state, and because it's now in June, they can have group, you know, meetings and stuff. There's a Rage in the Cage is about to have an event there in July. I've been talking with Josh here in Arkansas about Pyramid of, you know, open up, get a date, schedule it, because you don't want to be the last one to schedule because these fighters are hungry. V3 is going to be calling us, you know, Matt Weibel, Jamie Houston, the promotion in Mississippi.
What are they? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You know, I just had Robbie Beard. He's the president of V3 now. He was just on the podcast. Well, I just shared it today. He was on a couple of days ago.
Oh yeah, they brought him in, so I never got to really find out. I mean, he's the president now, right?
Yeah, that dude's just in martial arts, like in the industry, is a rock star, man. He's like, you know, like what Alan Belcher's doing, just like with the business side.
Yeah,
like he does that. He has like he at one point he was selling so many uniforms that Century called him and was like, "What are you doing with all those uniforms you keep buying?" And he's like, "Well, they're for my students." And because they like didn't even know why they were asking. They're like, well, will you come like teach business seminars and stuff for us? But this dude, I've learned from him at a couple of like in Vegas at super shows. And
No, I've never gone, man. I always
he's
kick my
just
butt.
over in Memphis. He's like a Bill Wallace guy, and he's a Laborio black belt. So a good guy, I think, to be president of E3. Honestly, 'cause
Wow.
he's done it all.
Did he come in from Florida?
No, he lives, to my knowledge, he goes to Florida all the time. Like he's at the beach right now. But to my knowledge, he lives in the Memphis area. All of his
I thought they brought him in.
karate. Yeah. But he has done consulting in like Coconut Creek for like what was Laborio with ATT, American Top Team Forever.
Yep.
That's how he got hooked up with Laborio, because Century and other places were bringing him in as a consultant. So
is Laborio not with ATT?
I don't think so, dude. I think they all there was some sort of implosion there. I'm almost 100% positive that's what happened. I don't know all the details. Because there's been some sort of big change in their organization on the jiu-jitsu side. That's all I know.
Well, when I first started to have options and offers to package my curriculum into selling it maybe to Century, to Maya, that's when I found out that ATT came out with a MMA ranking curriculum. And a couple people were already certified, actually, here in Arkansas. Some people were certified in their first level curriculum. And I took a look at it, and it was like, day 1, jab. Day 2, cross. Day 3, drop levels. Day 4, body lock. That was like their 4-day. I'm like, okay, no, never mind. I'll stick with what I'm doing because it's so much different and better. And so anyway, he was a part of ATT then. That's why I was asking.
Yeah. He went into a little bit of like his whole, I guess, like different people he's been affiliated with and stuff when we were chatting. But like his whole organization's called USA Karate, and they do like Krav. I mean, they do.
Oh, that's how I know him now. Okay.
Yeah. They're into a little bit of everything, and they've evolved a lot over the years. But dude, he's been in martial arts since like the late 70s. So
yeah, since I was born.
yeah. Right. Yeah. That's like I'll get to talking with Dring about, like, Dring's been doing episodes with me like over every art that he's trained. Like we did one with Joe Lewis, one over Superfoot, we do jiu-jitsu one, and like he'll be talking and he's like, yeah, in 86 I did this, and I'm like, dude, I wasn't even born.
You sound like him right there. In 86. You literally sounded like him.
I can do a pretty good Danny Dring impersonation.
Yeah. I would hear, I mean, he's full of stories, and man, I really hope I keep some of my memories, because stories, some of the best speakers are the best storytellers. And so when I hit on a stage, do motivational speaking, man, stories really reel them in, can change everything. But, I was on a special board here in Arkansas to change a legislature, write out legislature for MMA to make it legal and to get it away from, he embezzled. It was the guy Johnny Mattingly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, see, okay, so he was the commissioner the first card I fought on, right?
Johnny Mattingly won.
Yes.
Dealing under the table. There's a promoter. He doesn't promote anymore, but, man, this guy was dirty. He would let guys fight on his fight card. There's no paperwork on them. You can't find them in the system. Johnny would take money from him, and all you have to do is pay Johnny $500, and he'll license your fight.
Yeah.
And nothing has to be written. There's no licenses. People have like 15 fights in the system, but it's not in the system. I mean, I have
a fight like that for sure. I have a fight like that. That
like my
first fight, it's not anywhere to be found. So yeah.
People didn't realize that's what it was like. I'm telling you, when I moved down here, I'm like, what the hell did I get myself into? I was in a Poodle Boys club. I mean, like I said, I'm in Iowa. I'm with Miletich. I'm with some amazing fighters. Jesse Lennox from UFC, Keone Koch, Eric and Keone Koch, the Koch brothers. Amazing grapplers. They're both UFC fighters. I have you could say the great tutelage and lineage up there. And then I'm training with these jiu-jitsu guys, and he was so respectful to my dumb, foolish, idiot, personally self, walking in with my state champion, 2008. I walked into a seminar. I don't know though. And he was so cool. And I'm doing, bridge drills off the wall. And he was so cool. Down here, oh no. No, they ain't got time to mess around with that. You're going to call you out. You're trash. Nobody has respect for you. They're going to throw you under the bus. I remember going to I was trying to do an MMA fight. I was blackballed by 4 promoters. When I first started my first MMA fight promoted was in February 2009, April 2009.
Is that AXC?
AXC. June 2009 was downtown Little Rock in the amphitheater. Willie McLaughlin fought on that fight card.
Willie's coming on the podcast Monday, man. I'm having him on Monday morning.
Well, oh my gosh, he's gonna have so many stories from Bryce out in Jacksonville. Willie's a character, dude.
He is.
So Willie fought on this fight card. Kim Hamby fought on that fight card for me downtown. Ooh. She's a beast.
She is, man.
So anyway, I'm about to do this show, but in like May, I was invited to the bar. This is my memory. What's the bar on the interstate?
Oh, in Little Rock, or are you talking about that Brickyard place?
Yep, in Little Rock. The Cowboy.
Okay,
the Cowboy,
yeah.
Electric Cowboy. I was invited to an MMA fight. They were hosting MMA fights in there. Again, non-sanctioned, just crazy, absolutely insanity going on. And the guy that was promoting it literally got into a fight with the fighter that night. His fighter got poked in the eye. He jumps over the cage. There's only this much room from the top of the cage to the roof of the building, the ceiling. He jumps over the cage and shoves an MMA fighter. A brawl happened. My first, I think it was my second MMA fight I went to. My first one was in Hot Springs that I went to. A guy from the audience got up after drinking a beer and a cheeseburger, got in the cage and fought. That was my first fight in Hot Springs in Arkansas when I first moved here in 2008. But this promoter jumps the cage, and then he started bringing these other promoters and coaches in and saying, hey, he's got a fight camp in Jonesboro. Hey, he's got an MMA fight up in Northwest Arkansas. Hey, he's going to have an MMA fight down in Hot Springs, all on the same date that I was doing my show in June. And that's when I realized I was getting blackballed from, they didn't want me to succeed. But you know what? I stuck to my guns. I was always professional. I paid them well if they were pros. I took care of them if they're amateurs. I made sure it was on the up and up. I did what I could to make it for the fans and for the fighters, and it just broke through to be, one of the biggest promotions that ever happened in Arkansas. But man, I had to go through the good old boys.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. And Arkansas is notoriously like that, and in all institutional levels of what we have going on in the whole state.
Right.
Anyway. Yeah, man. Did you do? You did AXC for a while and then did change to a different name after that? Is that what?
Yep. So I went out on my own, and that's why I changed it to Kingdom Promotion. So
okay, Kingdom,
it was in 2012. I left. So I moved in 2008. I started kind of 2009. So 3.5 years I was with that company, and they were just not nice people, and they were not Christian people, and they were no ethics, no morals, no values. They'd screw anybody over for a dime. And it was just hard watching them run their numbers. So, you might have business meetings with your wife, or might have business meetings with your staff and stuff. And that's fine. I've been at other big martial arts schools that do that. But man, we sat down and, we never said a student's name. All we did was how many numbers of levels. We had 20 level ones. We had 10 level twos. That means they signed up into one of our programs. We had 15 level threes, and we had $15,000 for the month. And that was never good enough. It was a money game, and I was sick in my stomach being a part of it. It was hard to watch the parents pay so much for really so little. And so I wanted to be a motivational speaker, and I got laughed at by the boss in her office. And she scoffed and chuckled at me at the notion that I'm going to be a motivational speaker. Bye, Felicia.
Talk about motivating you, though, right? Like, that's the same thing with me. It's like any disgruntlement I get. Everybody told me, they're like, what are you going to do with the history degree, Brian? It's like, well, I got.
You mean in college?
Yeah. Like here was a real conversation. I tell people this all the time, because I go give talks and stuff for people contact me for the gym to go talk to high schools and stuff periodically. But it's like, I had a family member that I like super respected, and they're very successful, and they're like, look, you should be a radiology technician. Okay. You only got to go to school for 2 years. You're going to make about $38,000-ish a year, something like that. It's a great income. You'll be good. And I'm just like, yeah, but I think I like history. I think I might want to get a degree in history. Like, you're never going to do anything with that. That's nonsense, is essentially, but like nobody got it. They're just like, what are you talking about? And, honestly, that can derail a lot of people. And that's why I like going and giving talks and telling that story, is like, that's the kind of stuff that motivates me. It didn't motivate me at that time to go become a college history professor, but later on, it definitely became a motivating story.
I heard you speak. I don't know if you remember, but we were at a ball.
The winter camp, yeah. Yeah,
okay,
winter camp,
okay. Yeah. I couldn't remember what it was, but I remember we all got dressed up. Everybody's in the fancy clothes, and you gave a Bushido history.
Yes, and I ended up like, that's chapter 1 of my master's thesis now, is what that became.
How awesome is that?
Yeah. So, and I hope to, I don't know if it'll be a dissertation or a book, but I will expand upon that. It turned out to be 3 chapters.
That's incredible.
So,
Well, that's how it started. It was just her telling me that she was literally laughing at me. What's funny is a seed was planted in me by some man that heard me speak. And he said this to my wife. And I wasn't doing motivational speaking. It was motivational, but that's not what I was there for. I was, just selling some multi-level marketing product, which I'll never do again. Good Lord. But I didn't know any better at the time. Okay, people? I just didn't know any better.
Was that the Visalis shakes?
Yes.
Dude, you were crushing it on that, though, right?
Was. I did. I did crush it. I crushed it. I'm standing on stage with a license plate. I got the car. I've got the regional director. I've got...
Hold on. I think... Oh, there we go. I think I got muted.
Can you got me?
Yeah.
Sorry, call was coming in.
You got the call, or you got the car, you said.
Yeah, so I got the car. I was getting regional director, and I was growing, but my focus changed, and the narrative became, instead of, it was, watch me. Stop telling me I'm not going to, my license plate said, I told you so. I hated that idea. I didn't want to, I tell people all the time, these guys that come to me, this dream of fighting, and when they always say, because somebody told me I couldn't do it, I'm like, good, then make sure you have a reason to do it, not because of them or in spite of them. They should have
too. That's great.
They should have nothing to do with why you're doing this or why you're not doing this. It's all on you. And if you leave it to them, you've given them the control. You've given them the control of how your emotional control, psychological control, or your physical control. I can't go lift weights because somebody told me I had a bad body. I can't go here because somebody, if you do it for them or in spite of them, they're still in control of you. And I realized I loved when people were just going, you know what? I'm done. I got rid of all sweets. I got rid of all junk food. I've been walking with my husband. A couple moved to Hawaii. That was at one of my events. And she says, you changed my life. She's not even on the product. She never even started the product. Just the idea that she made a decision one day to change her life, and she did. So this guy standing there, and he said, your husband is unbelievable. He works for a big firm here in Little Rock, and we hire speakers to come in. We pay him $20,000 to come in. It's crazy. And none of them are like him. And that seed planted in my head from my wife, because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be the next, Tony Robbins. So I did. I went to John Maxwell training camp. I went down Florida and got certified with John Maxwell. And I've been going to universities, and I love speaking on a stage. It's my favorite thing to do.
Man, I think you would crush it at the Martial Arts Super Show as a speaker. Right. I know it's probably not they have a big keynote or whatever, but like a class, like Barry Van he does those and stuff. But it's really like a place that's impactful for sure. I love those things.
I would love to do that. However, I know I don't have the clout to do that yet. They don't know me. They don't know what I've done or what, and I know there's something has to be significant, and that's going to come. I just don't know what it is. I've got, I did the Family Feud. That was fantastic. Everybody loved it. I've got Wheel of Fortune. Yeah. Well, dude, I did an MMA demo on national TV. How awesome is that? Who else can say they did that on national TV? God, that was such a great memory. Steve Harvey was hilarious, man. I thought I cussed. Bruh, this guy, when the camera's not on, he steps in front of this line on the stage, and that means the cameras are not live, like to the, what they're recording. He's standing in front, and he'll do his pep talks, he'll do motivation, he'll do jokes, and he is just dropping F-bomb like you wouldn't believe. I mean, but funny. I mean, I feel embarrassed for this 90-year-old grandma on the audience of what he's saying. That's how bad it was. But then he gives his testimony in the next one. We won that game, and we went on to game number 2. He's giving his testimony out there. It's just, he was unreal.
He has an incredible story about like his life of like when he first started breaking through in the stand-up comedy. Yeah,
he's hilarious. I want to take over Pat Sajak's job. I got a call to be on the Wheel of Fortune, and it got canceled because of COVID.
Oh man, cool and unfortunate at the same time.
Unfortunate, but I had to actually cancel myself because we were on our way to Mexico for spring break, and I still went to Mexico. Nobody else was hunkering down. I'm on a beach in Tulum, and there's nobody around me. I'm literally isolated. My wife and I are almost the only ones in this resort, so I had to go. But the lady said, we're just going to ask a few questions. Have you been out of the country in the last 14 days? I'm like, yeah, does Mexico count? So they had to pull me off. But they're going to put me back in the hopper, and hopefully I'll get that phone call to go back to L.A. But, something big is going to come. I have no idea. And I was telling you, if this is B, where's A? Bro. I don't know.
We're in the Latin alphabet and some Greek characters over here. I feel the same way, man. I joke with people. It's like, didn't plan any of this really. Don't have any of it figured out. Just figuring it out as I go along, learning as much.
So what got you started this podcast? Why'd you start this?
Man, I just I always had an interest in film. When I was in high school, I wrote like my senior term paper on the history of film. And I didn't even have as intensive a history interest at that time. But when I went into college, I took some film classes. I love those. There's no film school around. Filmed some documentaries, filmed a history documentary about my grandpa being at the Normandy invasion. And
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Recorded. Then they hired me to be a videographer to film professors on campus. So I got a lot of experience doing that. And then, man, started putting YouTube videos out. Our YouTube channel for the gym has about 650 videos or something. So it's just been a natural progression for me, to kind of get you're on I do a Sports Unraveled string of shows. And this is the 17th MMA show I've done. I've done 25 jiu-jitsu shows and 65 this Life Unravel, where I just try not to burden people with MMA and jiu-jitsu the whole time.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, when people say, so why do my sister, I know she meant well. I want to say she meant well. But when I got that certification from John Maxwell, her words were, well, I hope this makes you happy. Listen.
Yeah.
I mean, as she's still at home, doesn't work with her 14 kids in Iowa. She's gonna go do nothing. She's doing nothing, and that's okay. And she's happy with that. I'm just not. I am. This is actually.
I saw your post-its up there while we were talking. I was like, man, I wonder what he's got going on there.
That's my book. This is a book that I've been working on, and I had to stop because I can't finish this with a sound mind and hand the public or have an opportunity to put something in your hands when I don't feel like I'll never be finished and complete, but there's one thing I have left to do. And I feel like I can't finish this without being in a feature film. That's the one goal that I have to have. So of all the stuff that I've done and I've built, I was talking with the CEO, she just wrote a book. She's in North Little Rock. She's a fantastic leader. She's brilliant. She helps women and men, but she wrote this book and she's like, this book isn't making me money. The book has been a key to open up doors that she wouldn't have ever had before, because now she's a published author. And she built a business. She's a CEO of her own business. And in her business, that she built. There are so many in the industry, business coaches, and they've never even ran a business. It's like the people complaining right now about opening up small businesses who don't own a small business and who still get paid from the comfort of their home. So I don't feel like I can talk about your passion and your purpose and your fulfillment and that peace, that burning desire that you know is inside, that's sitting there subsiding. I can't talk about going and living through that. So I was in a short film in Texas 2 months ago. It was my first film. But I want a feature film before I finish this book. So that's my personal goal outside of MMA and jiu-jitsu.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Like I've got, something I started doing recently after I finished the Goggins book, Can't Hurt Me, David Goggins. Have you listened to that?
Yep.
I started doing the accountability mirror. And man, like that's a game changer. Yeah. Every day I go in my bathroom over here next to this studio, I look in the mirror. It says, write chapter 1 of your first book. Right. And then it says, read or listen to, because I listen to more books than I read, listen to 100 books, write your first article, publish your first article. So it's just like, man, that's been a game changer for me. And then within that, like I have these little processes. A lot of times I'm breaking up one of those Post-its into other Post-its.
Yes, that's what this is.
Yeah.
I mean, literally the blue is the beginning. This is it. And then from the personal development, the persevere of the, we use quotes when you're teaching MMA classes, we talking to your kids, if they get tapped, well, did you lose? You win or you learn. That's what we teach them, right? And then actually giving the meat to that, not just some fancy win or learn. No, it sucks. It sucks. But you know what? You want to quit, you want to give up, or you want to get back up and learn from it. Let's move on. Let's go. So use this pain to endure, to push you. So that's all these are the main subjects to go into it, to break it down. Edible bites. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah. I've been thinking about this a little bit, and I think we're in a cultural climate where like MMA is going to sell so much more metaphorically and is like in story format in like works. Like think about Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. Yeah, right. It's a boxing analogy, but like most of the people in his audience, boom, they get that. They get it. Like, but we're in an era now where everything we're talking about is now the feature spot on ESPN. Right. So like, I mean, that just in the consciousness of the United States or of the world globally, what MMA has grown to, it's an exciting time for all that. And I think that it's going to become more and more and more and more prominent in our culture, in pop culture, in books, in movies, and television. Remember when, I remember when the video game first came out, I think there was like a PS1 MMA game or something, like a very crude early inception. And it was oh my gosh, like we can't believe this. But then look how far that's come with the UFC video games and stuff.
Yeah. No, I think you're right on that. I read a book, Wild at Heart. Have you read Wild at Heart?
No. Do I need to add it to my list as a question?
And I would probably bump this up to book number 1 on your list if I could ever say so. I was really upset that I didn't read this 10 years ago when my boys were younger, because this book has been out for a while. And he has a new unabridged, revised version. And in the audio book of this, he actually answers a question: would you have changed anything? Is there anything different now that you look back at this book? And he says, absolutely. This book is more relevant now than it was when I wrote it then, because we are emasculating our boys. We are emasculating our society. We're putting a label on everything, but not really giving them a label. And then we're shaming people. I'm being shamed because I'm a man, or you're being shamed because I only like women, because I'm straight, I'm Christian, I'm Republican. I'm shamed for who I am. And this book was unbelievable, talking about what men truly need. I mean, really what truly need. And beautiful part about it was I've even suggested this book to a couple single moms who I watch and witness as they emasculate their boys, and they don't even know it. They don't even realize that they're stripping their manhood away from their children, being the only female lead role in their life and not being the disciplinarian and only the nurturer, or vice versa. Wild Heart was phenomenal. It's changed my life.
Is that Eldridge?
Yeah,
Eldridge is out there. Okay, cool. I got it on Audible here. I'll add it to my list.
Dude, I'm telling you, it really impacted me greatly.
Man, I'll tell you, this podcast, like this little exchanges like this has been a big game changer for me. It's like, what
Really?
great conversations, but like, man, because I've been doing this 100 books thing, it's like almost everybody I have a conversation with. I guess I talk to people that also consume a lot of books, but I've gotten so many good book recommendations on the show.
Yeah. Well, somebody just gave me one. Dad just gave me one today. He said he was going to text it to me. Fortitude. Who's the politician?
Crenshaw. Yeah, Dan Crenshaw. That's on my list.
Okay.
I've heard it's really good. I like that guy. And
yeah,
you know.
I can't wait to read it. So he just gave me that suggestion. So I'm going to download that in my Audible this weekend. But I'm excited to consume that. But I mean, as far as MMA, I know we've been all over the place with an MMA podcast. I hope people can respect the culture that is brought in, and not just punching and fighting and kicking all the time.
Well, man, and it's going to take people like yourself doing things for the culture in the States and then moving it forward from human cockfighting at one point in our recent history to ESPN, right? Like that's an awesome transformation, and it takes people braving that in different states. And
how amazing and brilliant. Let's just talk about the brilliance of Dana using the POTUS to pimp him out on national TV on the White House lawn saying, oh, Dana White's awesome. Dana White's doing a good job at the UFC. And they got, what? And then how brilliant was it that they were tweeting and putting the tweets on there and using hashtag UFC 249 and only the blue checks? Because, of course, I'm like, ooh, maybe they'll retweet. I'm like, they're only getting famous people up on TV. But you know what was trending? Number one, UFC 249 trended on Twitter all night long, all day long.
Yeah,
and then
that's
out
awesome.
of the top 20 trending hashtags, 7 or 8 of the top 20 were all about UFC 249, about Cowboy Cerrone. I don't know if Twister or Bryce was on there or not, but that was just phenomenal. We've been
that Swedish Twister. Are you familiar with like the Swedish Twister from the 10th Planet warm-ups?
No.
Okay, so like I just got onto this. 10th Planet warm-ups has an app. It's really good. It's no instructional. It's just a flow drill. But the was it D3, I believe, has this thing they call the Swedish Twister, and it's hard to hit. But Bryce hit it, man. And it was beautiful. It's like where he passed the arm down under his waist.
Yes.
It was awesome.
Okay.
And like he did, like he had this here, and you have to reach out to get your arm. Swedish Twister. It's Swedish Final Three is what they're calling it.
Okay. For all of a sudden, I can't find a pen in my journals or anything. I'm gonna have to write that down. Or
here, I will shoot you a message. Well, hey, so I tell you what. Go ahead.
So we've been playing with that because, you know, we hit the Eddie Bravo, the style of the Twister. But what a lot of people don't talk about was when Eddie Bravo hit this in a tournament, he was actually in what we call low sitter. Oh, thank you. I just saw the message. He was in what we call low scissor, and the guy was turning into him, and he hooked his leg, rolled, and he went for a banana split. He went for banana split before he ever got the twister. Nobody ever talks about that transition from banana to twister, or twister to banana split. And Bryce had the banana split because he wasn't up to his head. He was kind of almost perpendicular. His leg was right there. So we actually been playing the transition between banana split and twister banana split, from half guard, from single hook, from right in the back, and then also from like an advanced back take. You can't get both hooks, and they get back up. And we've taken that on, man. Oh, we've been playing with it. It's been a lot of fun because some of those guys have never done it. Everybody wants the cool shit.
Yeah.
So
man, and
it's been a lot of fun.
That is, Bryce has had some incredible moments in the UFC already, making Arkansas proud.
And you know, I know I say this all the time.
Luis too.
And Luis, so Luis has got something planned this summer, I guess. But I want nothing more. I know I have my Rock City MMA business, and I know I'm in West Little Rock. You know, I have so much mad respect for Bryce. We chew it up every time we see each other at fights. He's come over cross-train before. Hopefully I can get him into fashion very soon. And for the reason, because I am in MMA, because we are in the sport, we are in the state together, I want this to succeed. I said this all the time. I want Thomas Gifford to be at the top. I really did. I want Luis Pena to have that title shot. I want Bryce to win and be submission of the year, submission of the night, fighter bonus. I want everybody to know Arkansas and camo shorts. I want TJ Brown. Man, I could not believe he lost his fight. Gosh dang, I couldn't believe it. He did so well. He has another opportunity. And I know they're not with me, but as a fan, I am still a fan when I call fights and when I'm emceeing and I'm staying in that attitude, weighing in at 429 pounds, you know, I still get goosebumps when I call amazing fights. I am a fan. I want them to succeed so bad. And I cannot wait for Bryce to face a top 15 opponent.
I'll tell you a fight that I would love to see him in, and it may be that guy may be a little too high in the rankings, but I'd love to see him fight Zabit.
Zabit's a dangerous man.
He is, yeah, it would be a very good challenge. It may be a little soon, but
because they're both good grapplers.
Yeah.
I know Bryce. What people don't see is Bryce just got the second most lopsided judging card in the history of MMA.
30-24 was one of the score sets. Like I don't even think I've heard
any other fight. They would be calling for the head of the referee if that was a striking fight, right? Because 30-24 means you weren't even in the game. You were just getting demolished. This is a black belt, bro. Who's up? Laborio.
Yeah, who kind of talked shit and told Bryce that he better not take him down and stuff. So that was some sweet.
Yeah, he's gonna armbar him. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I loved it. I love the fact that what people may not recognize how one-sided that was against a black belt. So I know as he's moving along and those other guys that up there that are in the title shots, have the title, or in the top 10, that Bryce is good enough to be with those guys because we just watched what he could do to a black belt. I mean, there wasn't – and one time you heard Joe say, oh, hey, he could be rolling for – yeah, never mind. You know, he's going to roll for an ankle lock or something like that. Bryce like, whoop. And then Bryce got up. Did you see that one time? Because you can hear Rolly, you can hear him coaching, stay on top no matter what, stay on top. And Bryce, in some exchange, he turned around and wham, shot on this guy so hard and fast, took him down again. Bryce was all over him. It was awesome to see.
It was, man. That was exciting. I watched it a couple of times since it came out. And I'll probably watch it again just because such a good high-level case study for those twister transitions and truck, man, honestly.
I viewed that. I showed that on our TV in our academy that we were doing twister. I'm like, okay, so let's come watch Bryce do this live. Oh, no, we watched Korean Zombie do it first. So we went back to the very first one and watched Korean Zombie, Cheng Jung-gung, or I can't remember his name now. Watch a Korean Zombie do it and watch him beautifully hit this and just watch him peel that off. And just that swim, man. You know once that swim happens, it's over. Man. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, I got another guy coming on here in about 15 minutes. To wrap it up, kind of tell, like, what you got a website. Can people contact you if they see this and want to have you come do a talk for them? Like, what's all your contact info, social media, and stuff like that?
Well, thank you. That's awesome for that, to give me that platform as well. You know, for MMA, you know, I do, you know, I mean, other than doing seminars, you know, at my school, or I'm going to Oklahoma, I'm going to Minnesota to do a seminar. I love doing them because they get to see something they may have never seen because I come up with. We have a Carol Baskin, just so you know. We have a move called a Carol Baskin for MMA. And I'm going to use it. I promise you, you're going to hear the color commentary in Oklahoma, June 20th, and you're going to hear me go, Carol Baskin. And they're going to go, oh my, and then somebody's going to go, killer, husband, wife. So, dude, I love creating names that nobody else knows, and we have. So I love doing that. And then That's my favorite part of teaching a seminar, just giving them something they've never seen or done or something like that. But rockcitymma.com, rockcitymma.com, Rock City MMA on Instagram and on Facebook. But as far as me, it's Coach Kirby Speaks. Most everything is Kirby MMA or Coach Kirby Speaks. For speaking, and most of the stuff like social media, you know, I try and have like an email or a phone number for them to contact once they get to those sites. The best thing is just to get them to the sites, rockcitymma.com or coachkirbyspeaks.com or Coach Kirby Speaks on pretty much any social media platform.
Well, hey man, again, I appreciate you coming on, and I'll share this over the podcast. It's been growing. I've been getting a lot more views than normal, probably because I've been having some really good guests. The pandemic has forced me to. I've been doing episodes of people all over the U.S. instead of like the professors I know locally and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, not just that, but people are home and they want to be fed. You know, there's so much information out there, and they're going to find what they're looking for. The first thing I said to this guy is, I got to go at the car dealership. I got to go. I'm going to podcast. He goes, which one? Which one are you going on? So that's the first thing he asked. That's what these guys look for.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. Podcasting is just, I never would have thought it would be like this now, that it's just become what it has, but it's awesome. It's awesome to be a part of.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, bro. Take it easy. Have a great day.
Yeah. You too. Bye-bye.